Powerhouse Hobbs was a guy that would come in every week that he had a match. He would ask me, "This is what I'm going to do. What do you think?" Sometimes we'd go out to the ring and look at something. But unless they ask me talent, I didn't go to them and volunteer because I was not a agent slash coach slash producer for the company. I was just Cody's coach.
So here's a wrestling question. We'll mix in a wrestling question. I'm very interested in what you think about this. Kyle Day, what's your Cornette says that people in AEW don't necessarily listen to advice. You worked there. You worked with a lot of the folks there. I know you have a lot of fond thoughts of some of the talent that you work with. What are your thoughts on some of the talent and listening and things like that? You were a coach there. You got to work with Cody. Just what are your general overall thoughts on the talent and working with coaches?
When I was with Cody, I had an opinion because I knew it was the flagship of the show at the time. So I had an opinion, and sometimes Cody didn't like, I'm sure, the opinion that I had. Sometimes I told him he was being too generous. And I would tell him in front of his opponent, and these were top guys. You know, I felt like if I was going to be his legitimate coach, I needed to explain to him that we all look at things different, and it's easier to look at another match from the outside looking in. It's hard when you're a babyface and a lead babyface with a company to say, "Hey, I got to go out here and kick your ass." That needs to come from agent, producer, Tony Khan, somebody else. I do feel like, what was the question again? God damn it. I'm having a bad
as far
day.
as the talent and how well they take.
Oh, did they listen? Did they listen? Yeah. Well, and when Cody left, I got to be honest with you, unless somebody, and Powerhouse Hobbs was a guy that would come in every week that he had a match, he would ask me, "This is what I'm going to do. What do you think?" Sometimes we'd go out to the ring and look at something. But unless they ask me talent, I didn't go to them and volunteer because I was not a agent slash coach slash producer for the company. I was just Cody's coach. So basically, I mean, I went to the ring with Brock and stuff, but that wasn't my job on a weekly basis to set up matches and stuff. So if they asked me, I had advice for them, and something could help them, I would do my best to do that.
But otherwise, your role was different while you were there.
It was.
Yeah.
It really was. I was kind of in limbo. It wasn't because now when Cody left, I just became a guy that had matches with different guys and all that stuff. I just was kind of in limbo and with Brock, which I don't think is, everybody knows. I think they just assumed I stepped into a coach's role with the other guys. And that company was based on and built on the talent being more in charge of their destiny and them setting their own stuff up. That was what they liked about it, what made it different. It wasn't structured with producers and all that to help guide them. They were doing their own stuff. And so I understood that. I just kind of stayed out of the way.
To your point, the structure of it was built more on freedom and
artistic freedom by the talent. Put your own stuff together, do your own stuff. We're not going to have 8 agents riding herd on you, which was fun.
Right. You can see, you've obviously seen that model and it works, and it's the WWE obviously have perfected it. So there you go. MP2833 says, "God bless you, Arn Anderson from Baltimore, Maryland." Just wanted to share that with you. So
thank you. I'll take all the blessings from God I can get, my friend. So back at you.
So Shannon, thank you for sharing that with us for sure. ATF Media says, "I went to the same high school as the Steiners. While they went to Michigan, which is a far superior to all other athletic programs, including Georgia, they don't punch like hands of stone." Oh, so he had to get his little dig in there, Georgia.
Apparently he hasn't been watching television.
He has. He's just trying to stir the pot. ATF media.
You know that fly-by-night Michigan Wolverines football team would have never won it if Georgia hadn't got screwed out of being in that Final Four. You know that.
Oh, here we go. We're
Hadn't
ramping
lost
up.
a game in 2 years. Come on, man.
It's college football season for sure. All right, we'll keep going here. Darren Staley, Barney's salt and pepper suit is on display in Mount Airy, North Carolina. We're going to find out more Andy Griffith trivia than we ever wanted to know. Chris Orlando says, Arn, with 12 teams making the college football playoff this season, who are your sleeper teams? Now, I know you watch Georgia pretty hardcore. Are you paying attention to anybody else really outside of that?
Oh, I tell you what, I think it does offer some of those teams that are in the smaller divisions that are undefeated and don't make it to the finals. I think it's cool for them. Gives them an opportunity. In the past, things that, like UCF and some of those teams that have been undefeated in the past and didn't make it into the playoffs just because of strength of schedule. I think it will go through the national championship, as always, will go through the SEC.
Yeah, for sure. You know what I need to do? I think maybe I need to commit to watching more college football this year, Arn. I'm all in on the NFL, but I've never really dug all the way in on college football.
Well, if you have a team in the mix that is really your home team, your legitimate favorite team, it really gets fun.
I watch a lot of Pittsburgh. I mean, I'm a Pittsburgh fan of everything. Their college football teams, they won the ACC a couple years ago with Kenny Pickett, and that was cool. But they're not one of these top teams you hear about all the time. Alabama, Georgia, and so it seems like there's so many SEC teams that just dominate every year. And I don't know. Maybe that's part of the reason why it's hard for me to want to get dialed in when you have the NFL, where I feel like it's a lot more parity.
Yeah. I mean, the thing about it is you have those teams like South Carolina every few years will screw Georgia out of their season. Georgia will be undefeated. They'll roll into South Carolina and get upset. I mean, there's those teams that upset the team that should be winning the whole thing will get beat by, a team that just nobody would have called it. That's what makes the SEC so much fun.
Yeah, it's something. It's like it's a powerhouse conference for sure. Let's keep it moving. I want to get to as many of these questions as I can. Lil Patty says, Arn, how do you feel about the U.S. Express being inducted to the Hall of Fame? Barry and Mike.
Both deserve to be in the Hall of Fame. Their body of work over time as singles and as a team, but those guys had great careers and great performers, very dependable. Barry Windham, should be in that conversation of some of the greatest of all time. Mike was a very, very solid wrestler, great athlete, two-sport at Syracuse. And he was a guy that when he stepped through the ropes in a professional wrestling ring, you always knew you were going to get quality, and you did.
I want to go back and just mention real quick, and thank you for sharing those thoughts, Arn. Eddie Prather, I mentioned his birthday. It was actually his mom's birthday in September. She would have been 84 this year. So I just wanted to mention that and correct that for sure. Eddie, I love and appreciate you, and I know how much she meant to you for sure. Arn will go back to college football because Michael Jensen has a question, and he says, does Arn celebrate Georgia Tech beating Florida State, or is it just all about the Bulldogs?
I got to be a little bit, it's all about the Bulldogs. I got to be a little quiet about what I do with Florida State because that's Aaron's team.
Ooh, okay.
And her mother went to college there, so got to be a little careful how much you go. But you know what? That was, to me, I look at that as being a big upset. I don't know
they were ranked, what, 13th? Florida State was what, 13th going into the.
I don't know. See, that's where I haven't caught up. I haven't done my pre-research on. Somebody had to tell me what the initial ratings and rankings were. I didn't know Georgia was number one. Doesn't the national champion usually open the season as number one until something happens.
Yeah, but Georgia opened up this year. So.
Should have been Michigan, shouldn't it? And if all things considered.
Oh, we're gonna have some fun this college football season. Good stuff. I mean, should have, right? In theory, that's
Well,
how.
in theory, I mean,
Yeah.
Why wouldn't they be? They
Yeah.
won the national championship. They haven't lost. They should be
Darren
number one.
said Michigan did lose a shit ton of seniors. So,
well, but what does that mean?
and Andrew says Georgia would have beat Michigan last year in the playoffs. So here we go. All the woulda, coulda, shouldas. We're gonna have a fight in the group chat. I love it.
But I love it. I love football.
It's like moving on.